Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Rumors of Heresy. My name is Zareth, and we've got another battle report for you guys today. This time against the new Khorne Demons detachment. It's pretty cool. It's really interesting, honestly, guys. And this is tournament prep. I'll be going to the Las Vegas Open in a couple weeks, and the week right before that is the local GT, the January Open here in Denver, and it's a very competitive event. It's going to be fun. So the Gladius Ultras list that I've been playing has been really fun. A couple things before we start, folks. First off, we've got a little bit of news, and you guys can go check that out at the very end. I have it time-stamped and everything. Just want to shout out, we do have a new Discord server, very under construction, found in the video description, and I have a new Instagram to kind of chronicle my adventures to all the various events that I'll be going to, because I've got a lot scheduled. So that's one thing. And then, guys, if you like battle reports like this, if you like videos like the ones I've been making, I would implore you, please hit that subscribe button. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers, hit that milestone, and then also hit that like button and subscribe and comment. Help me mount the algorithm. You guys are amazing. People who have already hit those buttons, please hit them again. But also with my thanks, you guys are amazing. Thank you so much. Let's jump into it, shall we, folks? So I'm facing Khorne Demons, and you can see that huge list of characters that they have, including 2 Changecasters, which are Tzeentch models, and I don't pay them much mind in this report, but I'll try to mention what happened with them. I don't know if I have any photos with them, actually, but this is a pretty big horde of models, honestly, folks. So the thing that you really have to look out for is they have 2 different mechanics to like stay in melee or to get back into melee as quick as they can. And so if I leave melee, then they can spend 2 CP to charge me like during my movement phase, which is a really crazy mechanic and pretty scary. And then the other one is, if I go within 6 inches of one of his Khorne units, they can just wander into combat. They do like a blood surge as a reactive move and just go into engagement range. So things that we have to look out for in shenanigans. As far as shenanigans go with me, this is like the Ultramarine high command, folks. If we lose this battle, the Ultramarines may never recover. Honestly, we have their Primarch, we have their Chapter Master, we have a Lieutenant, which who cares, except he's like a famous Lieutenant, right? Because he's in all the video games. And Uriel Ventris is a Captain of no small renown, and so we've got 44 total models. Roboute obviously is by himself, and then Marneus and Uriel both have a company hero squad. We have Sternguard that go with Titus, and because Uriel's on the team, they're able to deep strike, which is what we're doing this game at least. A few infiltrators and scouts, like just action monkey scorers and all of that, and then 5 different okay tanks that are greatly enhanced by having double at the moment. So this is pretty cool. We've got a lot of proxies that we're using here, folks. You'll have to forgive me, but that's what we're going with here. Let's just look at the battlefield. So we're playing Tipping Point, which is the first day. The entire first day of the Las Vegas Open is going to be Tipping Point only deployment, and it's taken hold, which is the most basic of scoring mechanics. You can score up to 15 victory points per turn on 5 different objectives, including your own home objective. You can see the beautiful glowy blue circles there denoting the various objectives. And my opponent got to deploy first, and he also got first turn. He's keeping the 6 Blood Crushers with a character in reserve and deep strike. He's also keeping 2 Changecasters, which are the Tzeentch wizard guys on discs or screamers or whatever. And then know how many Bloodletter squads there are. It's kind of tough to see all of them, but there's a lot, guys. There's quite a few. There's also Scarbrand somewhere. Oh yeah, there he is. Plague Bearers. It's just total madness, folks. Total madness. I don't know if I put Nurglings on the list, actually. I think maybe I did. Anyways, I've got a couple Ballistus Dreads, which I put on the top. We've got the Predator Destructors, which are just the autocannon variety with some lascannons, and the idea here is just to spread everything out to be able to take out as much of his scoring and honestly just take out as much of his waves, because he's going to be the aggressor here almost certainly, and we've got to be prepared for that. Now the Las Vegas Open rules state that you can't charge through walls if your guys don't have the space to do it, so you can kind of block people from being able to do it, being able to charge there, and so you can kind of block that if you have the right characters and teams. And once again, you have to apologize here, folks. I don't have all of the models yet. They're all with the painting guy, which he does a great job. He's just not quite done with them. So we're just trying to endure the horde and kill as many things as we possibly can, essentially. We've got 10 Stern Guard in deep strike with Titus, and we've got a Ballistus Dreadnought in there as well, just so he can reactively go where he's needed. Here's a photo of the board without all of the text. And here we go, folks. So the Khorne Demons got first turn. They got Area Denial and Overwhelming Force, which I thought, Overwhelming Force, I thought you could redraw that one. For some reason, apparently you can't. So, a huge bummer. For him, turn 1, Overwhelming Force, absolutely not a great card for him. And Area Denial, I do have my scouts kind of within range to deny him area denial if it comes to that. So here's where his characters were at the very start. This is just a photo of the very start deployment, and here's the characters after the scout moves, and then here's all of his guys right after they moved. So lots of different characters, lots of different places. So you can see the Seekers are just trying to get in the way of things. There's a bunch of bloodletters. There's like he's just said he's going to start sending waves. And one of the things that he has, which I thought was cool, is he has advance and charge for his Khorne units, but you can do that after you've already rolled your advance. So if you don't roll a good advance, you don't have to waste your CP. You can say, oh, in retrospect, I'm going to charge after this, so I'm going to do that. In this case, he was able to get a charge with Bloodletters even without using that stratagem, which would have cost him 2, because remember, Uriel Ventris has the Vect aura on him, so it's kind of nice, honestly. Anyways, here's what it looked like after he charged. A couple of zoom-ins or close-ups here. So the Seekers got into the Scouts. You can see, obviously he's not painted up yet because he's trying the army for the first time. And he has a stratagem. Oh yeah, the let him advance and charge. The Bloodletters got into my Scouts. Maybe he did roll that afterward and we didn't remember about the Uriel Ventris aura, or maybe he was outside of 12. That's probably what really happened. So the Bloodletters did get to charge. The Seekers got to charge. And I have to stop underestimating demons, folks. They keep getting into me on turn 1, and I keep being a little surprised by it for some reason. The Bloodletters only got a couple models into the top scouts because the scouts weren't really that accessible. A lot of his guys had to stay outside the building. Some of his guys just couldn't charge far enough and get into them, and so they only killed 3 of the scouts in there, and the Seekers only managed to get 3 total wounds on the scouts that they charged, which that's not too surprising. Scouts are not that resilient, but Seekers aren't paragons of combat anyways, and only a few of them actually got into those scouts. Suffice it to say, however, I am pretty tied up in my own deployment zone, or at least pretty close to that, so he ended up getting the raise banners for a couple points. He got area denial for the small one because one of my scouts was still within 6 inches of the center of the board, and that was it. He scored 4, and we go into my turn. I get area denial and cleanse, which are actually decent ones if we can take care of those bloodletters. Well, the demonic invasion is in full force once again, folks, and I'm kind of dumb, I guess. I always forget that they can do that right away. I mean, Seekers are really crazy fast with their 9-inch scouts and then 14-inch move, and then whatever they roll to charge. It's outrageous, it's unfair, And I just didn't think he was going to charge me first turn. I just always expect people to wait a little bit longer, but demons just don't do that. They have no chill whatsoever, and they chose violence today. Luckily for my scouts, my scouts mostly lived, and so what we have to do, because we need to fall those scouts back. Like, we got to let them out of combat, because we gotta get into melee with other things. We have to shoot the things that they were melee with, but we also have to be very cautious because of the special rules and mechanics that we're talking about earlier. The bloodletters can charge in immediately after I've left combat if I do something like that, or if I get too close, they, without any CP, they can just wander into melee with me, and I don't want to be in engagement range with them. I want to shoot them. And so the idea here is not that complex. We just keep the scouts engaged in melee with the demons until all my other guys have moved, then fall the scouts back. Make sure the scouts move the full 6 inches to keep outside of engagement range of those Khorne demons, the bloodletters, and then we can shoot them. So that's the idea. We need to do that. So the other thing is we need to keep enough of these demons alive that Uriel's squad can get us area denial. So we have to be within 3 inches of the center at the end, and you have to have no enemies within 6 inches of it in order to get the full secondary. So we're also going to be targeting that. Alright, you see that squad of tactical marines with the arrow pointing toward them, right next to Khorne the Betrayer, and right behind them a hapless, armless dreadnought that used to be a Grey Knight dreadnought, for me at least. Those are actually much more heroic than they appear at first, guys. That's Roboute Guilliman there was on the dreadnought base. And then we have Khorne the Betrayer as Uriel Ventris, and of course proxies for the company heroes right behind them, and they'll eventually be more heroic folks. But until then, Roboute Guilliman gave tactical doctrine to Uriel just so we'd be able to eventually, if we need to, use a reactive move on them and get the full 6-inch move later, and you only get that when you're in tactical doctrine. So we did that initially, got a free one from Roboute. And then we put Oh the Moment on 2 different characters. Of course, you have to delete one squad first before you can delete another squad. But we did the things I talked about just a minute ago, moving all the characters and units around first, followed by falling the scouts back from them, and it worked nicely. The predators honestly killed the seekers so easily. I wouldn't be surprised if it only took 1 predator to do that. Now you got to be careful about shooting those bloodletters, however, because we don't want to risk Uriel not getting into the center of the board to get us area denial. So instead of shooting at them, I think maybe I shot a couple shots. In fact, I don't think I did, because I wanted to ensure that Uriel's squad could get all the way up there. Mr. Khorne there from 5th edition, this 5th edition model. So that's what we did. I mean, between Roboute, Marneus, and Uriel all charging them, 10 bloodletters. I think it was actually 9. I think the scouts ended up gutting one of the wretches, and we managed to take them out and consolidate all the way onto the edge of the objective, which was exactly 3 inches from the center. And that's it. You can see Uriel's squad is just hanging out there because we got area denial, and we were able to fall back if I wanted to. Now, I did mishandle my scout deployment. I should have put my scouts originally, the ones that you see that are kind of closest to us here, the ones that are facing down those flesh hounds. Those should have been in the back and screening for me, because I don't want to have to deal with a demonic incursion in our backfield. I don't want those blood crushers to come in and mess with us. So instead we put one of the dreadnoughts in the back just to make sure that he couldn't arrive and raise a ruckus, so to speak. And the other dreadnought, you can see, is just towing in on my objective, forcing my opponent to come and mess with him, or I'd be able to score the next turn. So with 4 OC, dreadnoughts aren't too bad, I suppose. And then see the scouts, like I said, they should have been back where that Ballistus is on the top left. Instead, they're facing down a horde of flesh hounds. So they tried, when they fell back out from the Seekers, I did try to get them to kind of screen out the flesh hounds to various levels of success, but that's what they're trying to do, because otherwise, what else are they going to do? Just keep falling back, I guess, and eventually they could maybe come back in, but I thought maybe I would try to screen this. As it turns out, flesh hounds are just very fast, and it doesn't really work that well. So anyways, I got cleanse with my Dreadnought up on the top objective, didn't get it with any of the others, on any of the other objectives, which is fine, and then area denial, I did get that full 5 out of 5, so not too bad. 7 points on secondaries is not a terrible turn one, to be honest. My opponent got marked for death in Defense Stronghold, and I marked some pretty dumb ones that he couldn't get to, so yay for that. I think there was 1 minute of tension where I think I put it on Guilliman. It was like, well, I don't think he can get to Guilliman, but if he can, it might be nice for him. Anyways, he scored 10 on, he didn't get the middle objective, but he got his own expansion objective, and then of course his home objective. So here's my wonderful Photoshop here, guys. Karanak is the one that's a little bit redder than the rest of them on the top. And so those flesh hounds moved forward and charged. They had to charge the scouts as well, but for the most part, he wanted to get into those predators. And whereas the predators are pretty not great at surviving, apparently flesh hounds aren't the most amazing at killing them, because they ended up killing 3 of the scouts, but they didn't really hurt the predators at all. And even though we focused on one of them specifically the one on top there, it really just didn't do that much damage to them. Up on the top, the Bloodletters charged the Dreadnought with all the arrows going to it, because that's the one with the objective. But I used Armor of Contempt because this army has so much CP, and honestly, Armor of Contempt against a full squad of Bloodletters is kind of nice when you have a 2-up save, so it went up to a 3-up. I saved most of the things. He was only wounding on like 6s, I think, and so yeah, he got a couple wounds through, but it wasn't nearly as bad as I had kind of thought it would be. And so in the middle, more Bloodletters charge Uriel. I had enough CP to get a heroic intervention. So first off, Uriel and squad get back into the ruins because the Bloodletters had gotten within 9 inches of them, and the reactive move gives us a full 6 inches. So full fallback with them. And then the Bloodletters charged anyways, since they were close enough, and I used Heroic Intervention with Marneus' squad, and between Uriel and Marneus' squad, we wiped out another 10 Bloodletters, and I think 1 model from Uriel's squad got killed because they're fancy, and Marneus was able to kind of mess up and break up the charge from Bloodletters, so a couple of them went on to Marneus' squad, which they have a 4-up invuln save. They have, and remember, both squads are company heroes, which means they get -1 to wound against me, and it just really just kind of shattered their attack. And of course, with the charge from 7 heroically intervening models with Marneus, and then Uriel's squad, 10 Bloodletters easily die. And then Marneus was able to, and you can't really see it in this photo, he was able to consolidate back onto the middle objective. I'm using Adrax as his proxy, by the way, guys. That's what you're looking at. And honestly, Adrax is a little more heroic than Marneus in some ways. I'm just letting my biases show. Marneus is a certified badass. So I did get onto that objective though, because we won, and you can consolidate back onto the objective if you want. So my opponent got marked for death. It turned into a CP, and then Defense Stronghold, I just gave it to him because there's just no way I'm messing with that many Plague Bearers on his back zone. And then he got a couple more raised banners, which is a good move on his part. He's got 4 of the objectives with raised banners, so that's keeping him in it here. He's at 19-7. For my turn 2, I get no prisoners, which is great. He's got a lot of characters and units kind of within range, and he's got established locus. Oh, the one thing I should mention here, folks, is remember those Ballistus Dreadnoughts up top where the Bloodletter shot him? Let's go back. Yeah, so up here, there's also some Tzeentch sorcerer dudes on screamers that did a couple mortal wounds to the Dreadnought as well, but they're just down in that lane, just kind of hanging out on the very far top flank, and they're just waiting for a Ballistus to punch their ticket back to whatever level of hell they originate from. So let's jump into the planning for this turn. Turn 2 is going to be interesting for sure. Well. Gosh, this invasion keeps getting crazier. We have got a lot of work to do. We did keep that center objective safe, which I don't know how wise it was to just charge one squad of Bloodletters into the center, because it just let me move back onto the objective at the end of the turn. And if you heroically intervene, which I had a ton of CP because this Gladius list is absurd in that way, it didn't really help. But up top, there's Bloodletters that pour. Dreadnought is beleaguered for sure. There's going to be Blood Crushers eventually. There's Flesh Hounds on the bottom that have already engaged my Predators. And we don't really have enough models to be everywhere at once, so hopefully we can win each of these flanks on their own. We also have to be prepared for that Blood Crusher charge at some point. We got to keep that screened off so that he can't rapid ingress during my turn to put the Blood Crushers in my back zone and really cause a ruckus. So lots of things going on, lots to take care of. Even though we've done a decent job of killing some of the demons, there's still a lot of them left. Because of Marneus's magical consolidate onto the objective at the end after killing those Bloodletters, I did manage to score 10 on primary, though I was content, honestly, with letting my opponent dock me 5 if I needed to, because he was going to run out of dudes eventually, right? And if we could take out enough of his squads through his own aggression, then in the final turns I could hopefully make it back. So I was prepared to take only a 5 this turn. It turned out okay though. So I went with Tactical Doctrine because I needed to fall back a lot of things. I have the Dreadnought up top, we have the tanks down below, and I wanted to be able to shoot with them though, because every ounce of firepower is needed, and Tactical Doctrine is awesome. The whole army can fall back, shoot, and charge this turn if we so desire. So for my ultimate moment number 1, I chose the Flesh Hounds, and between the two Predators, man, it's almost unfair. I think Roboute ended up getting a couple shots off, but for the most part, it was just the Predators. They do a lot of damage, and because of the moment giving +1 to wound, all of its guns are, I mean, against Flesh Hounds, they were probably wounded on 1 or on 2s anyways, but they just do a lot of damage. The Storm Bolters even do quite a bit of damage here, just because they wound on 3s for the +1 for the new oath. So took out the Flesh Hounds there. And then up top, my backup Ballistus came in to help his brothers. And you can see the Dreadnought is already fallen back. My other Dreadnought's already fallen back from the Bloodletters there. And after all my movement, which I didn't have too much movement, honestly. There was some Nurglings that Marneus' squad was going to go pick on that you guys can't see. It's just on the other side of that ruin. But otherwise, he did get his Blood Crushers to rapid ingress in that little corner there, in that nook, really close to those Oath of Momented Bloodletters that are on the objectives that would charge the Ballistus initially. And there's nothing I can do about that. They're completely out of line of sight. But I did manage, with all 3 Dreadnoughts, to kill all of the Bloodletters. I mean, Bloodletters aren't that resilient anyways at tough 4, and they only have 5 up invuln save. But with the blast weapons on the Ballistus, and of course the lascannons aren't terrible, they're just inefficient at killing lots of little models, they managed to just kill all of them. between 3 Ballistus. I don't think that's too questionable, honestly. And they had out the moment, so the blast weapons, which are strength 5, instead of wounding on 3s, they're wounding on 2s, which makes them just so much more efficient and ridiculous. So, got rid of those, and that is, I believe, 30 total bloodletters dead so far, which, of course, he still has quite a bit. Yeah, you can see Marneus and company still have the Nurglings, but he still has 2 Rendmasters. He's got that huge unit of Blood Crushers with a character. He's got another 10 Bloodletters. He's got Scarbrand, Plague Bearers that probably aren't going to do much, but he's still got a lot of stuff. I did manage with Uriel's squad, or maybe it was Roboute. Someone was within 6 inches of the center, and we established Locust. We got no prisoners pretty easily. Just by killing the Nurglings, the Bloodletters, and the Fleshhounds, and Karanak. Could have gotten a 4th one if such a thing existed, but we kind of took a lead on the scoring. My opponent got behind enemy lines, which is going to be tough for him because I've done a pretty good job of screening so far. Extend battle lines, he just falls into. He gets it automatically. It's a really good strat for him. And so he goes up to 20 points because he's still holding his expansion objective and his home objective. And he's up to 19. Blood Crushers moved up. He moved up to 29, actually, guys. I'm sorry, it doesn't show it there. So the Blood Crushers did move up, and they easily got the charge and killed 1 Ballistus. They were able to consolidate into the next one. And what I should have brought the reserves Ballistus in a little bit farther back. Honestly, if I had brought it back farther, first off, he got really unlucky with his charging mortal attacks and didn't quite kill the Dreadnought, the first Ballistus. Otherwise, he could have piled in and done all of his attacks on the second one. I could have just had him come in on the very corner, and that would have worked just fine. One thing I should point out, folks, is I managed to kill those pesky Bloodletters, but then I also managed to kill both of the Tzeentch dudes on discs. The Ballistus had line of sight to them and took them out. So that was fun. That'll teach you to mess with us, Tzeentch, you numbskull, you ninny. Is ninny okay to call someone, guys? I hope it's not. I hope that was a vile thing to say to those horrid Tzeentch screamer writers. Anyway, so the Blood Crushers did move, but they were close enough to the Marneus squad that I did a reactive move and got onto the objective again. I had initially resolved or decided not to go onto the objective in the middle because I didn't want him to come and threaten me in the middle. I didn't want Scarbrand and the Blood Crushers to come in and crush me and also get something like Storm Hostile Objective or something like that. I wanted to make the Marneus squad an annoying squad to charge because they wouldn't have gotten anything for it other than a dead Marneus, which obviously that's nice, but it may not be enough incentive for him to do it. So, but once he moved his Blood Crushers in a different direction, I was like, you know what? Let's get on that objective, because Scarbrand is within 12 inches of Uriel, so he can't walk through the building because it costs him 2 CP, and he didn't have 2 CP to spare, most likely. So Marneus managed to get onto that objective, and he got extend battle lines because that's easy behind enemy lines. He didn't quite get it. Actually, he had a couple of his characters weren't in my deployment zone at the end there because he had charged so deeply against those Ballistus, but he didn't have the unit fully within, which is one of the components of behind enemy lines, so he didn't get that one. He did go up to 34 at this point, though, which is significantly higher than we are. Got Defense Stronghold and Recover Assets here. Recover Assets can be a huge pain. It's also one of the only secondaries where you can earn full 6 points, so and this is actually a good turn for me to try that. So I did score another 10 because of Marneus and his capitalizing on with the reactive move to get onto the objective. And So the Predators didn't really have anything specifically. They'd already killed their targets, so one of them, they both moved up. Only one of them actually had line of sight to the Bloodletters, and but one of them managed to kill 9 of the Bloodletters anyways. I did use a Hunter-Killer missile on it, but with the really super efficient Stormbolter that it had, it did take him out. And then the next turn, I'll just tell you right now, that Bloodletter moved a little closer, and I overwatched and killed the final Bloodletter. So that was fancy of all of us. The Bloodletters were the second Oath target. We'll get to the first Oath target in just a minute here. So you can see I've just used Photoshop here, guys, to place where the Bloodletter or the Blood Crushers were approximately, and so they had charged into that backfield, and they're obviously placed a little bit weird because you can see the Stern Guard a little bit farther up. The Stern Guard were able to come in, and the one thing that I did do, I didn't want the Blood Crushers to charge the Dreadnought just because the Dreadnought had fallen back, which they could do. It costs 2 CP, so I put Uriel close to them within 12 inches so that they couldn't then charge the Dreadnought right after he had fallen back. So we vected them so they couldn't do that stratagem, and then Marneus just he got fully onto the objective. Why not, man? Come here, Scarbrand, get over here, you knave. And Guilliman got ready to heroically intervene if such an occasion were to occur. And then recover assets, we used recover assets on the scouts in his deployment zone, which we had managed to finally get them into reserves, and then they were able to get to the back zone. The Predator in the middle and some infiltrators in the back, so we could potentially score up to 6, though of course we have to wait to see if our opponent can shut it down first. So recover assets and defense stronghold were both pending going into the next round, and so at this point he really kind of didn't have much left. He had no Bloodletters. He had Scarbrand, 2 Random Masters, and 10 Plague Bearers, essentially. Because, I don't think I put it in the slides, guys. Oh my gosh. That's so tragic, honestly. The Stern Guard and the Ballistus combined to kill all the Blood Crushers. The Stern Guard killed, I think, 5 or 6 of the Juggernauts. Just crazy, guys. With the moment giving them full rerolls to hits and wounds, and they have devastating wounds. And they're wounding, because they're only tough 7, they're wounding on 4+. It just gets real absurd, and they just deleted that whole squad. The Dreadnoughts were easily able to kill the last remaining Dreadnought or Juggernaut and the character, and that was that. Easy peasy, man. I can't believe that slide, I did create it. Apparently, it just got lost in the warp, folks. So, at this point, all he had left was Scarbrand, 2 Rand Masters, 10 Plague Bearers, and that was it. So he wanted to keep playing. At this point, when we're playing a friendly game, I'm like, I don't want to presume anything. Would you like to just stop? I'm not in the business of just trying to crush the hope out of my opponents. And he wanted to keep playing because he wanted to see how many points he could score on me anyways, which is totally fine. So he went in with Scarbrand, punched my tank that was trying to recover assets, which how dare he? The tank, of course, died. And then in my next turn, I was just able to use the remaining tanks and Roboute and Marneus, just killed Scarbrand pretty easily. And that was it. I mean, we played the rest of the round, but you can see the scores that we have here. And I think I'm going to start incorporating this, guys, into my battle reports, just because the app is nice. And it's also just so time consuming to be doing the different objectives and everything all the time, every time. So anyways, we got the win. I got 99 points actually, which is not too bad for such a tiny army that's fairly elitist in its sensibilities. So my final thoughts here, folks. Oh, hold on a sec. My final thoughts is the reactive moves from Gladius really messed with him. He's got really good movement shenanigans and keeping his guys into melee or getting them into melee, and it just doesn't work. against the nonsense with the reactive moves and being able to fall back with everyone every time. It didn't really pan out for Andre, so I did feel kind of bad, but yeah, it was nice. I mean, a lot of the reason I have the army the way it is, like I want all the CP to be able to do reactive moves, to be able to put people in tactical, just so they can move in and out of ruins if they want to. But yeah, there's no models in the unit or in the army at all, guys. Like 44, if someone kills 10 of my models in a turn, which is pretty possible, that's a lot. That's a ton of models. I mean, maybe it's all scouts, but even the scouts play a really vital role. And so, losing a lot of models. That being said, all the models that I have are fairly tough and resilient. You know, Guilliman is tough to kill. The tanks are tough to kill. The company heroes have a ton of wounds on them. And in Marneus' case, they have invulnerable saves, and they're all -1 to wound, all of that stuff. But so far, guys, maybe this army isn't that good. It's very possible that it sucks, that it's terrible. I don't know, but the games that I've played so far, which I think I've played about 6 of them, have just been wins by huge margins. Which, that's no shade on any of my opponents. This is the first time Andre had played Khorne Demons. I'm sure he would play it better next time, regardless, but so far, this list has done really well. It's performed really well, and I'm very interested to see how we end up doing with it at a GT. Of course, a lot of it's just theory. I've played, I think, like 6 games, like I said. So, small sample size. Let's hope it keeps up, though. And honestly, one of the nice things about this list is I've been winning by big margins, which never really happened much with the Firestorm list. And the CP stuff, guys, is just insane. Like, I feel like they're gonna nerf that, because Roboute hands out a CP every single turn, which is each player's turn. So if we go all the way to the end of turn 5 and he's still alive, he can hand out 10 total CP, and then Marneus, of course, generates 1 every turn that I go. So that's just an extra 15 CP floating around. In addition to the one that I earn at the start and at the start of each player's turn on top of that. It's a lot of CP, guys, so you can afford to do a lot of cool stuff. And Gladius is such a cool playground to do it on. It really is, with the reactive moves. And, you know, you can go into Assault Doctrine so that people can, like, at one point I went into Assault Doctrine and had Roboute charging, or, you know, you can give your guys +1 to wound when they're charging, so you don't have to, you can have, it's like a kind of a pseudo third the moment in a way. It's just really cool, guys. So just absolutely insane. In terms of news here, folks, you can't really quite see the whole slide, but I've hired someone else to paint my stern guard because we're on a huge time crunch right now and we needed to get that done. So anyways, they're almost done. They're looking good, and we just need 5 more scouts and all of the Ultramarines, which will be cool. So next events that I'll be attending here, folks, we have in a couple days here at the end on this weekend. I think I'll put out one more video talking about that, but we're going to a Rogue Trader tournament. I'll be using my Firestorm list, the new one, the new improved one with the Ballistus Dreadnought and Incursors, so all the things. I'll be playing that, and I'll be trying to update you on Instagram as well, so go check that out in the video description. And then the next weekend, it's going to be back-to-back-to-back weekends of increasingly important, huge, prestigious tournaments. So we start with a Rogue Trader tournament, then the next weekend we go to the January Open, which is a 6-round tournament in Denver. I'll be playing the list that you guys just saw, the Gladius list. And then in the weekend after that, we'll be going to Las Vegas Open and playing in the 6 to potentially 10-round event. I doubt that I'll make it to 10 rounds, obviously, but it's a prestigious, huge, crazy 1,000-person tournament that I'm looking forward to. And then eventually, I guess we could turn my face off for just a sec, we also have GT in Laramie, Wyoming. I don't know if it's 5 or 6 rounds, but it is in February, right after Valentine's Day, that I'll probably be attending as well. So lots of really cool events to look forward to. And honestly, I have things further planned out as well. But let's talk about the huge new stuff to announce. I do have a Discord server. It's very, very under construction. Go join it, and don't expect much yet, folks. It'll be a work in progress, but it will turn it into something better and bigger slowly. Over time. And then I also, like I said a couple times, we have an Instagram account now. I just don't have the habit of updating social media. Hopefully we'll get into that habit eventually, but that is something that I'll be updating hopefully between rounds. If you want to follow my round to round progress, you guys can go check that out as well. So I think that's it, folks. Let's call it a day. Or don't forget to like, subscribe, comment if you like this video. Share it with your friends. Guys, I really appreciate you watching. Thank you all so much. And remember that if you didn't hear it from me, it's probably heresy. Realistically, that's the best bet. Take care, folks.